go straight to Doha and Nawaf bin Mubarak Al Thani, who is the Foreign Affairs and Defence Analyst and a former Qatari Director of Defence Intelligence Operations. Thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. Just to let you know that we will keep the pictures up of the imminent press conference we're expecting with Secretary of State Blinken. So if we have to cut away from you, that is the reason why. I hope you understand that. What do you make of the progress that's being made towards a ceasefire? I know we haven't seen the Hamas response in detail, but what do you make of what we know of it?
Well, thank you, Sarah, for having me. Well, it is progress. And I think we should take it as that. There is this narrative that is being formed right now that, well, if Hamas comes back with a counter proposal or details, on the proposal, which, by the way, we don't know for sure, that seems like a rejection. No, that is the essence of negotiations. The mediators, both the Arab mediators, at least Qatar and Egypt, have put out both statements, basically saying the same thing. They're optimistic. They're going to continue. The Americans the same. And as we wait for the press conference, I'm sure a lot will be revealed as well. But I think it is cautious optimism rather than an automatic pessimism that is the view here in Doha and in the region.
Qatar, of course, has played a hugely important role over the last 8 months or so in trying to negotiate some sort of ceasefire. What is the leverage that they have with Hamas?
Well, the only leverage any mediator has is using its diplomatic tools, which is mainly reason, trying to find a way moving forward, using its track record as an effective mediator. Qatar has been doing that for the better part of 2 decades at this point. Beyond that, we're burdening the mediators more than they can take by saying, well, you've got to use more pressure points. Let's not forget, Qatar hosted Hamas in coordination and based on requests from its partners, namely the United States. So this was not an indigenous standalone effort by Qatar, but this is a joint effort by Qatar, by the United States, and obviously the Egyptians being a vital part of this as well.
How much pressure do you sense that the Hamas leadership will be being put under by Qatar, by Egypt, to accept this latest ceasefire deal?
Well, again, we should understand that the main role of mediators is not to pressure, it's to convince, it's to create the atmosphere that both sides, both the Israelis and Hamas, see the logic in finding a solution and not continuing the suffering of the civilian populations and releasing the hostages from the Israelis, from the Israeli hostages and from the Hamas side. And I think by the fact that the negotiations are continuing, the mediators are doing their jobs. Now, we will see in the press conference that's about to happen any minute now, the U.S. take on the latest developments. I believe that Qatar has been sincere in its position with the Egyptians, saying that they will continue. That sends a message that there is still hope. And let's not forget, part of the news that also came out from yesterday is that Hamas, yes, had some points and maybe some would call demands on the proposal, but they were also open to discussion and negotiation. And that's an important part. It's an important window. And I think all mediators, the Americans, the Qataris, and the Egyptians, will and should take full advantage of.
We've talked about the importance of Qatar and Egypt in terms of mediation. This is Antony Blinken's 8th visit to the region. How important is his role?
Well, the United States, obviously, as a superpower and a guarantor of future peace in the region, and as a strong and major ally of Israel, is vital in this process. It could not happen without the United States. I think everyone recognizes it, Hamas, Israel, and the other mediators. The point also with the Americans is there is a limit to their leverage with the Israelis. Israel is a sovereign country. In the eyes of the Americans, there is a limit to what they could do. And in an election year as well, that is very contested, that is very sensitive in the United States, there is an extra pressure on the administration to get a result, but not to seem overburdening or pressuring the Israelis into taking a position that may seem one-sided or the other. It's a very difficult position, but it's an important one for the Americans.